Hello. All right. Awesome. So, like they said, V8 WebAssembly and the future of JavaScript and a multi-language web. So, as they mentioned, I'm Perch. Besides being a developer avocado at Cloudflare, I am also a robotics author and addict. I've written 2 books on using JavaScript with robotics. I also Twitch stream hardware and software on Sundays from Node Botanist. So yeah, I'm also a parent of 2 cats, and like they're my favorite like animals in the world. So that's Ace on the left, and that's Arya on the right, and they're very angry with me because I've been gone for like 3 weeks, and I'm gonna be gone for like another week. They're really mad at me right now. But anyway, that's not what you're here to hear about. Come on. What even is WebAssembly? This is a 5-year-old technology, and we're still answering that. And when you think about why, it's because no one's figured out how to use it until now. People have been working very, very hard to make this more accessible, but we still need to kind of have this talk about like what is it even? Because I think it's easier to answer what it's not first. It's not a programming language. Like you don't. You remember when LinkedIn recruiters would say like you need 10 years of Node.js experience like in 2008? Like it's like saying I'm a WebAssembly programmer. Like you don't program in WebAssembly, you don't write WebAssembly. The second thing is WebAssembly is not going to kill JavaScript. JavaScript is the cockroach of everything. It's never going to die, but especially not to WebAssembly because it's not meant to kill JavaScript. And WebAssembly is not something you can just ignore because it's going to go away. I hope to convince you in the next 28 or so minutes that if anything, you should be embracing it because it's the future. Oh, so sorry, I didn't have the right button. What WebAssembly is, it is a compilation target for other languages to compile to. You compile other languages to WebAssembly, and it's a specification and a compile target. It's an augmentation of the abilities of JavaScript. Far from replacing JavaScript, it is there to let JavaScript do what it is good at and then do things that JavaScript is not good at and then give back the results. But most importantly, it's pretty literally magic. Not literally, but like I'll explain it a bit. There's a pun involved, it's fine. So WebAssembly as a compilation target. You write code in other languages and then compile them into WebAssembly. Rust, which is pretty much written for WebAssembly, C and C++, Go, C#. Those are just a few of the languages that have WebAssembly available as a compile target. There are way too many to mention, and I'm certainly forgetting a few. But those are the 4 main ones that I can think of just right off the top of my head, especially with Rust being pretty much written to be optimized for WebAssembly, though it's also just a pretty cool programming language if you ever get a chance to try it. But then the question you have to ask is, what? Why? Why would you write code for the web in other languages? Why would you do this? Why would you take pictures of Laurie Voss while he's giving talks like this and then use them in other talks? There are so many reasons you would A, want to take pictures of Laurie Voss, and B, have WebAssembly in your life. This is the next Ajax for the browser. And like, I've been saying that a lot this weekend, and I've gotten this reaction quite a few times. Like, oh yeah, sure, Kaz, this is the next Ajax. Okay, cool. But I mean it. I'm very serious in the sense that Ajax gave huge credibility and made client-side applications possible, and this is an evolution of that. This is the next step of that. And that is an adorable Pokemon GIF that I found this morning. And I was like, oh, well, now I got to stick that in there. And so I had to pick the word evolution to, like, stick. I write slides around GIFs, if you haven't noticed. So now you're like, all right, maybe it's like the next Ajax. But, like, I'm not 100% committed. So this is a drawing that I did in OneNote this morning of... This is what I call ancient.png. So this is back when we had HTML renderers, CSS engines, and we had JavaScript. And all JavaScript did was play MP3s in the browser, annoyingly, when you opened a page. Thanks, MySpace. And back then, the server had literally everything. Literally everything was over here. Where did my G go? Anyway, so you'd click a link and it would return a page, and you'd click a link and it would return a page, and so on and so forth. You get a browser refresh every time you needed new information from the server. So now, this is what I call then.png. We got Ajax, which, that's not the right button. That's the right button. We got Ajax. Woo! So we'd request the page and then get the page, and then we'd make an Ajax request without refreshing the page, and we'd get back a result, Ajax result, Ajax result. Maybe there'd be another page request. We got a lot of single-page applications out of that as well. And then the server became a REST API that also served up the occasional HTML, CSS, and JS file, right? So this is what I call now. Oh, dang it. This is what I call now. Because now we have and WebAssembly, and I ran out of like sparkly colors, so I had to use like this like red and black super goth, but it sticks out, so it works. So yeah, you request the page, you return the page, and then you use WebAssembly to do some computation, but you're still over here in the browser, and you use the service worker for your third-party module, and you're still over here in the browser, and you do some Ajax, and your server's like, lol, okay, I'm not even actually a server, I'm just a serverless function sitting on someone else's server, and then gives back your results. This is where we're heading. Okay, now you're thinking, okay, I get it. Okay, this is starting to make a little more sense. Being able to compute things in the browser and not necessarily have to do it in JavaScript is kind of a big deal. This is kind of important. But why does this matter? Why do we really care? We care because we need to augment JS at its not so strong points, because I know this is something you've probably either heard a million times and are sick of hearing, or it's blasphemy or whatever, but there's some things that JS isn't really good at. Not rewriting entire code bases to use them on the web. Who wants to rewrite an entire code base of any library that's like more than 5 years old and has unit tests? Yeah, I don't see a lot of hands. Me neither. No, I'm good. Fewer calls to the server means less latency, and it means faster web applications for your users. That's always important. Performance is good. Not having to go back to the server a billion million times is good. So let's talk about augmenting JavaScript at its not so strong points. I'm sure you've seen this at least once in your JavaScript career. 0.1 plus 0.2 is actually 0.300000004. So that's false. And so if you're running anything that relies on mathematical numerical accuracy, financial applications, anything to do with stocks or bond trading, currency conversion, anything really that requires, games require a lot of math precision, it's not really a JavaScript's strong point, obviously. You would need an Ajax call back to a server that would run a different language and give you back the actual result, which then, might get converted incorrectly even. So with WebAssembly, you can do this in the browser with the correct tool for the job, with Rust, with C, with languages that have float types that are more than 32-bit. Other not so strong points. We've got type coercion side effects. Empty string equals 0 is true. It's really hard if you're trying to say, did they enter a number other than 0? Oops. API overloads, so this one is new to me actually. So if you 1 plus document get element ID value, it concatenates, but if you put number around that, it adds it, even though that's not really like a number, or it might not be a number, it might be a nan, and then it's 1 plus nan, which is nan, probably. See what I mean? Like type coercion can be tricky. And then speaking of types, the mystery that is type of. Like, that last one has infuriated so many people over the years. Using WebAssembly means using the right tool for the job. If you've ever seen me speak before, you might have seen me give a talk about fanaticism, and I talk about using the right tool for the job. And WebAssembly is using the right tool for the job on the web. We are no longer forced to use JavaScript for things that it is not good at. And that is a big deal. That is huge for the web. That is huge for browser applications. But this will kill JavaScript. Oh, we're going to have all these applications that are only written in WebAssembly, and it's going to... No, just calm down. Calm down. It's not going to kill JS. It makes JavaScript better by letting it do what it's good at, DOM manipulation. React and other frameworks have made DOM manipulation ridiculously fast, and JS engines have made DOM manipulation ridiculously fast. I don't think WebAssembly is going to beat JavaScript in DOM manipulation anytime soon. It might in the future, the distant future, but I don't think it's going to do it anytime soon. And it's good at manipulating classes, CSS, things like that. It's not going to replace CSS either. Certainly not going to replace CSS. So it's good at augmenting websites that use JavaScript. And you will still probably use JavaScript on top of that. It's just letting JavaScript kind of like take a load off on things it's not so great at. It's like, so my fiance and I. My fiance hates doing laundry, like with a burning passion. And he's bad at it, like really bad at it. And I hate doing dishes, and I'm really bad at it. So I do all the laundry, and he does all the dishes. Everything's fine. Except right now, because he has to do his own laundry, because I've been gone for 3 weeks, and he only has 2 weeks worth of clothes. It makes the web better by creating better browser experiences, which is exactly what Ajax did. These better browser experiences are mind-blowing when you think of the implications. Like Jeff Goldblum mind-blowing. But let's take a closer look at what I mean by this with a demo. This demo is using Wasm ImageMagick. If you haven't used ImageMagick before, it is a command line and C library that is extremely good at creating and manipulating images. It can create animated GIFs. Don't at me about that pronunciation. It can create images of itself, like it can create fractal images. It's a very powerful library that I don't want to rewrite in any language, much less JavaScript. We're going to manipulate images in the browser up to 10 times faster than JavaScript can, and in some ways that JavaScript just can't, at least certainly not performantly. And it's going to show the real power of not having to rewrite code and being able to let us use the right tool for the job. So let's take a look and hope it works, because it's worked every other time, so it won't work this time. You know what I mean? Okay, good. My webcam turned on. So I'm going to say select an image, and I'm going to go down to webcam. I always look silly in photos, so like I look silly on my terms. Okay, so these buttons say, actually I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see. Well, I guess my tongue and the buttons. So we're going to rotate right, and below it you'll see it's rotated right. And that was really, really fast. Rotate left, same thing. You can do that with CSS really quickly though, right? Like this is not that impressive. Let's do grayscale. Boom, grayscale, right? No flash. Let's add some contrast. Bam, added contrast. Let's remove some. Bam, removed contrast. Can JS do that quickly? Nope. So yeah, that's my demo. I will tweet out a link to the GitHub repo. This is entirely open source, so you are more than welcome to play with it. Yeah, so that's my demo. Yeah, thank you. But what about Node.js? Wait, but what about Node.js? Like this is a browser thing, right? Like this is a browser technology. I just did all that talk about the browser. Why am I bringing up Node.js? Especially because this isn't NodeConf. I'm in the wrong spot, right? That's in Ireland. That's also JSConf.Asia. Anyway, why am I? Okay, the reason I'm bringing that up is native heckin' modules. Who has ever seen a C compilation error when running npm install? Most of your hands should be going up because this has happened to a lot of people. Native heckin' modules are a huge pain point in Node, and they are ridiculous, and they make you want to yell what Bryan Cranston is yelling. You can probably read his lips on this one because it's just like bah, and he's saying blah. Obviously, he's not saying the other word. Why are native modules such a pain? They have to be recompiled on download, and they have to be recompiled for every single architecture there is. That includes the Raspberry Pi that someone will inevitably file an issue on your library because it doesn't work on the Raspberry Pi. It wasn't meant to. Well, it didn't. Well, it isn't meant to. And then you have that argument for 20 days on GitHub. They either have to compile for replatform or leave off platforms for support. And that can be kind of tricky. Again, that's the same GitHub argument. Or you could just feel bad as a maintainer because, like, I'm sorry, this doesn't work on Windows. Who's been like, I'm sorry, but this doesn't work on Windows. It's not a fun feeling to say that. And Nodejs. Disclaimer, I respect the heck out of the people who work on Nodejs. Like that, they have a Sisyphean task, like an insurmountable task. So I respect the heck out of them. But WebAssembly works on Node anything higher than 8.0. So let's do the math on why this might matter. Why does it matter that WebAssembly works on Node 8.0 and up? WebAssembly modules are pre-compiled for Node.js, not for the architecture. So they're portable to any platform that runs Node. So no more recompilation on download for every architecture. Yes, for reals. Yes, I tried it. You can try it too. It's pretty awesome. So this quote is from Lori this morning. Everyone wants to deprecate Nodejs, and WebAssembly would allow us to do this. That's huge for Node.js. And that's the near future. Node 8 is at the end of life, and anything below Node 8 is not being supported. That doesn't mean people don't use it. I mean people still use Android like 3. A drop of water literally just hit me on the head. Sorry. That was the most confusing thing that's ever happened to me. Oh, it's actually, okay, I'm just gonna not stand there because there's water dripping on that spot. Okay, so, woo. So WebAssembly is even invading serverless. For instance, I work at Cloudflare, and we have Cloudflare workers, which run the V8 engine, so you can run WebAssembly on serverless, which is pretty cool. We have a free tier now for those of you not in this audience. I'm hypothetical, those of you, like maybe those of you who are watching this video or a live stream who have been like, but you don't have a free tier and I don't want to pay. And I get that, don't get me wrong, I hate paying for things too. If you scan this QR code, you can reserve a subdomain of workers.dev, which grants you 30 workers and 100,000 requests a day, which is slightly more than one a second. I did the math without using JavaScript. And I will show this again later, and it is also at our booth, but I will pause for a moment until I stop seeing cameras. Plus, I'm like running super, super early, so like I'm just gonna like pause for a second. Yeah, for the QR code, obviously, not because I'm like running way ahead. Anyway, all right, I see very few cameras out now. So the point of this talk. Try WebAssembly. I really like Rust. The more things I learn about Rust, like when I learn a new thing, I keep standing in the spot with the water. The more I learn about Rust, every new thing I learn, I'm like, wow, that was really well thought out. It's like this wasn't created in 13 days. Don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing JavaScript. It's one of the best languages ever, but it was made in 13 days, and Rust was definitely not made in 13 days. It was definitely well thought out. WebAssembly is the future of JS in all of its forms, as I hopefully have shown you. It's going to create better browser experiences. It's going to deprecate Nodejs. Don't quote me on that 5 years from now when it doesn't actually do that, but it could deprecate Nodejs. You can quote me on that one. And the last one is that if you are a hiring manager watching this right now, I would like you to do something very important, and that is hire someone different from you. They might look different from you. They might believe different things from you. They might be different. They might have a different gender identity, different sexuality than you. Hire them. And before you tell me it's hard, I'm going to refer you to Mr. LaBeouf on this. Just do it. It's not that hard. Just do it. Just hire someone who is different from you somehow. Anyway. Thank you for listening. Lori, I hope you're going to run over. I tend to be succinct, and that's my nice way of saying I tend to run early. There is water dripping everywhere on this stage now, by the way, so like we might want to look at that. We might want to spend that 10 minutes looking at that. And dance around over here. So Carl Sagan and I both think you're super awesome for watching this talk. I can be found at kas@cloudflare.com. And also at Node Botanist. I don't grow plants with Node. It was a discussion with like Rick Waldron and some other folks from Johnny 5. We were trying to figure out what to call people who did Node bots. And I was like, 2 drinks in, and I went, Node Botanist. And Rick was like, no, but that would make a great handle. So that's my handle. And then if you search meetup.com for serverless, there's a meetup on Tuesday at Fraser's Tower in Singapore. That's where the Cloudflare office is. And I will actually be doing a workshop there where I will teach you how to write a worker that controls a robot. And it's the same robot that's at our booth that currently only I control. Mwah! But you can learn to control it on Tuesday if you happen to be in the Singapore area still. And then the QR code is back up for anybody who missed it on the last slide. Now I'm only 10 minutes early, and I'm feeling much better about that. So I'm going to say thank you very much.